Okay, so I wanted to just take you through my bookshelf. And I say bookshelf because this is the main bookshelf that I have, and I share the space. So what's gonna happen is that we're having the house painted, and then we are going to be putting this bookshelf back here in the same spot, and it'll be mostly again the same books. But I wanted to do a kind of before and after so you can see the way the books look now and the way they'll look after. So I did have this a lot more interestingly laid out and more organized previously, but anyway, this is how it has developed over the years. These are mostly coffee table books. The beginnings of my Michael Ondaatje collection. I am a big fan of his. The English Patient is one of my favorite novels ever. And I haven't actually read any of his other works, so those are two that I picked up secondhand that I'm going to continue reading. Some more artist books along here, and some of these books are my husband's, so if they refer to science and beer and things like that, those are his. We have some classics on this shelf, and what else do we have? The Outliers. My husband and I have both read that one. Second's the Brian Lee O'Malley. That is a graphic novel, and my husband mostly reads graphic novels. He's also the Kurt Vonnegut fan, although I don't think he's read that one. And the Jay-Z. So I've got a bit of Margaret Atwood here and some Starhawk, which I hope to do a feature video on in the future because I don't know how familiar BookTube people are with Starhawk's writing. We have more Margaret Atwood here. A lot of these books have been acquired over the years. They are some of the reading books that I read in school in English lit classes and feminism classes. So I was curious to reread those actually. Scott Pilgrim, those are my husband's. Some more Kurt Vonnegut, some poetry. The Lucy and Stephen Hawking books were books that my kids read, and then those the E.B. White books were actually books that I got as a child that I have kept, and I have since read all three of those with my sons. I also get a lot of my books at library sales, so you'll see some library tags on a lot of them, and that is because that's where I bought them, and I still feel like that's the best place to buy books because you can get them for 25 cents. These are some different poetry books, James Joyce, some quilting books. I do have a few of those, sewing books. Here as well. Oh, that Gertrude Stein book. I really need to get rid of. I really wanted to like Gertrude Stein's work, and I am just not a fan of how she writes. So I don't know how much longer I'll have that. Some more graphic novels and poetry. You can kind of see a little bit of color coding here, but this shelf actually has a lot of thin books, so you'll see a lot of these are art show catalogs that I've purchased over the years. And there's quite a few of these books that I haven't actually read yet. Some of them that Dave has read. That Stiffed book by Susan Faludi I've had for like literally 20 years and I still haven't read it, so I really need to get on that one. So these are the books on my shelf currently, and what's going to happen is we're going to get our house painted, and then I am going to redo the shelf. So I'm just going to give you the long view of the bookshelf. So it's quite a tall bookshelf, and it sits very nicely in that little section at the top of our stairs on our second floor. And eventually you will see the reveal of what it looks like after I have put all the books back and given it a fresh new look.
Next level. Next level.
Okay, so this is my new bookshelf setup, and I want to start off by saying that it's potentially going to change because we're getting some new shelving put into our living room, and I might rearrange all these books, but for now, this is what it looks like. The other thing I want to say is that I know there's a huge amount of difference between the way people set up their bookshelves, and as you can see, I have not done anything like alphabetizing or color coordinating these books. My previous setup was slightly color coordinated, but not really, because I didn't really have it in any rainbow stature, but I did do like some blue and white alternating and stuff like that. So I organize my books based on aesthetic completely, which may or may not make other people unhappy. But what I'm going for is a certain rhythm, is a certain look to how they sit together. I've also put a lot of authors' works together, but I mean, I do get a lot of books out from the library. My collection of books is quite small overall, I would say, compared to a lot of people's. And this is also not just my own books, but my husband's books and just a few of my son's books, because I actually moved quite a few of their books onto their bookshelf. And let me know if you're interested in seeing my son's bookshelves, because I could go through those with you as well. So I wanted to start off by talking about this shelf, because this is the shelf that I decided to put a lot of my favorites onto. Well, some of them are my favorites that I've read, and some of them are books that are yet to be read. But I kind of picked my older book collection, poetry, and then this is called The Red-Haired Girl from the Bog, which is a memoir that I absolutely love. The Embroidered Tent, which is this book here, I didn't actually love that book, but it's the idea of it that I love, if that makes sense. And then I did end up getting my own copy of The Diviners. I did a review of that book, which I can link down below. A lot of these other books I haven't necessarily read. I do love A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. The English Patient is one of my favorite book reads ever. And I love these two books, but for kind of nostalgic reasons. And then up here, I have all my Margaret Atwoods together. Not as many as I thought I had, but I think I may have passed them on over the years. I've started to redo the collection as well. I also have an Alice Munro. This is the only complete Alice Munro that I've read, which I really enjoyed. Another Margaret Lawrence, which I have not read yet, which I will read in the future. This book was the book that was the #1 bestseller the year I was born. So if you want to know how old I am, you just have to go figure out that the year The Thornbirds was the #1 bestseller. And that is why I bought this book, and that's why I want to read it. I get a lot of books in my collection. I like to buy books when I'm traveling. I like to buy books from library sales. And then some of these books are actually from literature classes that I took. So I don't think I'm going to go into detail about any more of these books right now. I also edited a lot of my books, and I may end up doing an unhaul of them. And I edited them for various reasons, but I think it's just good to get books out that are no longer speaking to you and are taking up space, but just you're not going to read them again, or you're not going to read them in general. So that's kind of where I am with those books for right now, and I may share them in the future. But this is the redo of my bookshelves, and please let me know if you'd like a tour of my son's bookshelves, and thanks for watching.